Okay, thanks for coming. We're going to get started. We're going to work on a lot of rotation and movement through the rib cage today. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions or issues, problems. Otherwise, we'll keep you all muted. Let's start with 2 red springs and the foot bar up, universal settings, and we're going to have the feet up against the shoulder rest. Shift your weight back a little bit and shift your weight forward a few times, just trying to kind of get some weight into your arms and into your hips. And then push back towards your heels, round your back up towards the ceiling into a cat stretch, stretching open through the lower spine. And then lengthen out to neutral, push your hips forward. Try to lift your chest a little bit towards the ceiling, open across the collarbone. Comfortable extension, and then shift back again, go into a cat back, rounding through your spine. Shift your weight back into cat back. If you don't shift back enough, you end up in just like thoracic flexion. If it doesn't work for knees, you might get more out of it through the lower back if you were to sit down like I am, straddling the recliner. I'm not sure, but you decide. So shifting back, and then you're starting to make this one continuous motion. So from the extension, from head to tail, flex the spine, shift back, and then from tail to head, push the hips forward, lift, open the collarbones, comfortable extension, and round the spine, shift back. And just do that a couple more times, kind of exploring your range. It should feel very supported from the heavy springs that are on, and open across the collarbones to extend the spine. One more time, shifting back, and shift your weight forward, lift through the upper body, extend the spine, and head to tail to come back. Stand up onto your reformer with your feet as flat as you can, round your back, round back elephant. Nothing fancy, just trying to open up the lower back and the back of the legs, pushing out, pulling back in each time, rounding the ribs up to the ceiling more, trying to avoid being in kind of a flat back position, scooping the lower body up, scooping the lower body up. Couple more times here, feeling like the bottom ribs are lifting away from the carriage. So we're trying to stretch that low thoracic area open. And one more time. And you can come back down, sit facing the side. Once you're in control, take one of those red springs off and go into your mermaid position. Put your hands on the foot bar. Both of them, your shin will be against the shoulder rest, so you're in that Z sit. Yeah, exactly. Push yourself around into rotation, and then rotate the other way and pull yourself around into rotation. Do that a couple times and feel like you're growing up and out of the pelvis so that you're not sinking into it. It's not the feeling of like you're trying to crack your back. It's more taffy-like than that you're trying to kind of wring out the center of the spine and just keep it moving. It's not one position, you stop, it's continuous. So you rotate one way, push, rotate the other way, pull. Rotate one way, push, rotate the other way, pull. And rotate one way, push, and one more time, pushing through the arms and pulling in through the arms. And then bring your hand onto the bar like normal mermaid. Square yourself off to the side. Side bend up and over. Rotate towards the floor. Square your shoulders off. Bend and straighten your elbows a few times here, bending and pressing. Push the carriage away once your arms are straight. Just like we were doing kneeling, let your spine come up into extension, feeling like you're using the bar to help give you lift. And then round yourself back out. Slide the back hand towards the front, side facing, lift up and over, and side bend the other way. Good. Do that once more. One continuous movement. You go over, rotate to square your shoulders, bend and press, hollowing out the abdomen as much as you can. One more time, press your arms out just straight. Start to look forward, feel like you're pushing down into the bar to lift yourself up. Scoop through the abs, push yourself back out. Slide the back hand towards the front. Lift yourself up and over. And side bending the other direction. Good. Uncross that leg that's against the shoulder rest and go to sitting normal cross-legged Taylor style. Switch to a half spring and grab the strap that's closer to the shoulder rest. Put it on the elbow that's on that same side and bring your hands behind your head. So just starting with a side bend, feeling that opposite sit bone staying down. And then you're drawing that side of the waist back down to come back up. So lifting up and over. Yeah. And of course, you can have your legs hanging off the side if you need to. For your knees, feel free to adjust by sitting on a platform. Side bend, lifting back up. And then, of course, you could make it lighter or heavier. If it gets too light, I think it's hard to feel like you have tension to support the movement. But I'm guessing on the spring tension for each of you. So some of these you might have to adjust. So side bend then over towards the springs, then flex forward over one leg, over the center, over the other leg, into a side bend and keep going. So it's this big circular movement. Your head goes forward. And up and over, yeah. Should feel nice to feel the ribs moving. You feel like you don't have quite enough room to move, you can scoot a little bit closer to the springs. Just make sure you're not gonna fall off the edge of the carriage. Side bend, and around, and side bend, and around one more time. Up and over, side bend, and around. Sit up really tall. Rotate your body a little bit on the diagonal towards the foot bar. There's only so far you can go because your elbow's being held back. And then just rotate towards the shoulder rest. Rotate one way, rotate the other way. Can you move very much? No, that's okay. So you're gonna rotate, stay and hold, and see if you can flex over that leg, then stack back up to vertical. Stay on this diagonal towards the shoulder rest, up and over, and stack back up. And add a little bit of extension at the top so you flex over and sit back up and open your collarbones to the ceiling. And one more time, flexing over that thigh and sitting back up and extend a little to the ceiling. There's some place I'm going with that, but we'll keep working on it. Come to kneeling if that's available to you. And you might end up wanting to switch to a quarter spring at some point, but grab a hold of the strap with both hands and start by rotating the upper body towards one side and then back. Today I want your elbows a little straighter, less of you in a round kind of ballet position and more straight. Once you get that going, I want you to go all the way up and over the rainbow. So across the horizontal, up and over the rainbow, and return. You can do this sitting, it's just a little more things you bump into. If you can, go down now so you find that bottom half or bottom arc of the circle. So it becomes a huge circle where your ribs are moving the whole time. And if you want it to be extra hard, stop at the top and reverse the direction of the circle. So you just basically do a half circle. It's harder because you have to pause and then get it moving again. Less momentum. I'm gonna do the full circle. That feels good today. And the full circle around. As your arms go up, try not to let your ribs pop way forward and go into tons of back extension. You're trying to go for rotation. Yeah, nice everyone. One more time. Up and around. and then return. Cool. From here, we're going to, we're going to sit down and scoot forward. It's a little awkward getting into this, but get your butt as close to the shoulder rest as you can. You can put your feet out on the rails to help keep the carriage from moving. That same strap you had, that's the one you're going to be holding on to. So we're going to put our feet on the headrest and put our hand behind our head. You can feel how this bicep curl feels pretty natural. So start with that, and if it's too heavy, then switch your spring now. If you have really long hair, make sure you're controlling it. I don't want your ponytail in the springs. So then, keeping your body in the center, you're going to do a bicep curl, reach the arm overhead, and then reach the arm out to the side to return. So bicep curl, reach out overhead, sweep the arm around. If you want this to be harder, lift your legs to tabletop. A lot more oblique to keep everything centered. You could do one leg tabletop as well. Extend and circle the arm around. And bicep curl, press overhead. Nice melody. And Jessica, can you lay all the way down? Yeah, and then hold, yeah. If that's possible, I think that'll be easier than what you were doing. Good. One more time. And then take that same strap and slide it up onto your elbow on the same arm you were just moving. Bring your hands both behind your head. You feel how it wants to pull you into a side bend towards that side. You're going to allow yourself to side bend like you have a rotational disc behind the upper back, and then you're going to use your abdominals to pull yourself back to the center. Allow the carriage to move and allow yourself to go into a side bend and pull yourself back to the center. And support your head. Yes, you can have the legs in tabletop if you want it to be more difficult. You're in a little bit of flexion here. Should feel like you can kind of slide on the carriage with the upper back. Side bend and center off. And side bend and center off. Nice. Good, Anne. And 3 more. And last one. And then you can reach your arms forward. Use your arms to sit up safely. And once you're sitting all the way back up, you can take your legs through the shoulder rest like a back rowing position. Keep that same arm in the strap and press your arm out like airplane. If you prefer to do plow where your arm is down low, you could do that instead. If you're doing airplane where it's one arm pressing out to the side, just that one arm, then palm facing forward or palm facing down. Yeah, so focus less on trying to get your arm behind you and more on opening across the collarbones, trying to not let your back round. If you need to sit kind of cross-legged, you could instead, but I want you to be as vertical as possible. That looks good. Should feel like your obliques are working to keep you centered against this like one arm movement. One more time. Pressing that arm back and return. Awesome. So then you're going to turn carefully, mindfully, so that you're propped up with your arm on the headrest and you still have that same strap. Instead of letting your ribs sink into the floor, lift your ribs and feel like you're in as neutral of a position as possible. Take that top arm up and push it down a little bit in front of you so it doesn't chop up your nose, and then reach back up. So I'm still on that half spring. That feels like a decent amount of resistance for me. It's not the hardest movement, but at that end range when the arm is all the way up, should feel like you get some connection going. And then as you continue, you can either stay with this motion or you can start to take that arm forward you'll feel you have to work a little bit more on your center as the arm goes more forward. Yeah. If you can, try not to pitch yourself over the elbow. The elbow should be kind of under that standing shoulder. Feeling the ribs lifted, nice and supported. Good. And then take it into 4 circles in each direction so the arm goes forward, up and around. And 2, whatever range you can control. 3. And 4, reverse it. Circling around 4. 3. 2. And last one. And return. Come to kneeling. Head towards the back of the reformer, hand on the headrest. Scooch a little bit off to the side that you're just working on. You're gonna put that foot in the strap, like your long box, like pulling strap, and you're gonna press your leg out from there. You'll feel how this is a little bit different because you're lower. The rope does rub against you a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. Lower your leg and then press your leg up and back. You have a kind of narrower position you're standing in, less space of support. So your leg's gonna be straight. Keep your leg straight and lower the straight leg towards the floor and lift it back up. Keep your spine neutral. Shift your weight back so there's less weight in your hands and more weight in your pelvis. Should feel like that standing hip is working a lot. Good. Do 2 more. If you're on a low reformer, just lower towards the floor. There's plenty of room. And keep neutral. Yeah. Keeping neutral. Last one. The leg stays straight the whole time. Hold the leg up and back behind you in small circles about the size of a basketball. You should feel a lot of work in that standing hip. Try not to shift all the weight into the arms. Reverse your circles. And then bend your leg in and straighten your leg back out behind you. Bend your knee in and straighten it back out. Try to stay neutral for now. Good. And then allow the spine to move into a cat back or round position as your leg comes under you. More neutral as you press out. You might have to slow it down a little. That's totally fine. 3, pressing out. 2, and last one. And bring your leg back in. Set your foot on the floor is the easiest, safest way to get out. And then take the strap off your foot. Put that strap back on the shoulder rest and sit in your mermaid position facing away from me for the second side. Switch to one red spring. Put your hands on the foot bar, your shin is against the shoulder rest. Pull yourself into rotation towards the foot bar. Yeah, exactly. And then push yourself through the arms against the shoulder rest. So turn one way and rotate the other way. And rotate one way and rotate the other way. Pull into rotation and lift. Push. You have to grab your leg instead of the shoulder rest, that's fine. Do what you can, just get that rotation going. Nice. One more each way. Push, pull, feeling. And turn to the side, put your hand on the bar. Go into a mermaid, so side bend towards the foot bar. Rotate your ribs towards the floor so you're squaring your shoulders off. Bend and straighten the elbows. 3 and 2. One more time, straighten the elbows. Start to look forward. Lift your spine up into extension. Scoop out through the low abdominals and push the carriage back out. Slide the back hand towards the front hand. Turn to the side, lift yourself up and over, and big side bend towards the shoulder rest. One more time, all of that. Big side bend towards the foot bar, up and over. Rotate your shoulders, bend and straighten. Imagine if the bar disappeared, you wouldn't just face plant. You're holding yourself up from your abs. Once your arms are straight, start to look forward. Press down into the bar to lift the spine up into extension. Scoop out through the abdominals to push yourself back away. Slide the back hand towards the front hand. Turn to face the side. And big stretch, counter stretch towards the shoulder rest. And then release all of that. Switch to your half spring and bring your shin in front of you so you're sitting in a normal cross-legged position. Grab the strap off the shoulder rest. Hook it on the elbow that's closer to the shoulder rest and bring both hands behind the head. And start with going into a side bend towards the springs, keeping that grounding through the opposite hip. So as you're going up and over, you find that opposition through the standing hip. Good. Yeah, exactly. Very nice. And a couple more. On this next one, we're going to add that flexion forward. So you side bend, then flex forward over one thigh, over the center, over the other thigh, and sit up really tall, and then side bend. Flex forward, all the way around. And keep going on your own timing, trying to find some areas of the rib cage that you can move through and use your breath to kind of get a little more mobility happening. Side bend, flex forward, around, up and over. One more time. And then keeping that elbow and hands behind the head, strap on the elbow. Just rotate your upper body a little bit towards the diagonal of the foot bar, and then rotate a little bit towards the shoulder rest on that same side. This is the one that I said there isn't a lot of room to move, but there's something we're working towards eventually. So rotate towards the shoulder rest, stay there. Imagine there's a wall behind you, and you flex forward over that leg or shoulder rest. And then you sit back up really tall and try to open your collarbones a little to the ceiling and stay in that rotation as you flex over the leg towards the shoulder rest and stack back up to vertical. Open the collarbones a little to the ceiling one last time. Flexing forward and stacking back up, open collarbones to the ceiling. And you can release your hands from behind your head. Mindfully come up to kneeling, holding on to that same strap. Like you're going to do side twists, but you're going to have your elbows a little straighter today. Go across the horizontal and just get a feel for that. And then go up and over the rainbow, allowing the ribs to rotate. So you go across the horizontal, up and over, and return. Good, keep going. As you're rotating, you're continuing to feel like you're getting some big movement through the rib cage going so that you get the ribs to rotate in each direction. Yeah. As the arms go overhead, try not to let the shoulders go way up towards the ears. Let's try to find that bottom half of the circle. So instead of going across the horizontal, you go kind of down and around. We talked about on the other side, you stopping when the arms are overhead and reversing. That's an option here as well. Just do 3 more. We did a million on the other side, so a couple more. Up and over. And last one. Up and over. And return. Awesome. So keeping that same strap, you can sit down on the carriage facing the back of the reformer and then wiggle yourself closer to the shoulder rest you're gonna end up with the hand holding that same hand holding the strap. Feet, start with them down, other hand is behind the head, and just start by bending and straightening your elbow. Look down at the pelvis and the legs, make sure everything is centered, like you're doing this laying on a balance beam. And then we're gonna add that punch kind of overhead. So you reach the arm as far overhead as you can, circle the arm out to the side to return. Then reach overhead, circle out to the side to return. So as the arm goes out to the side, the weight should feel like it's kind of pulling you off center. You're trying to not let that happen. If you lifted your legs to tabletop on the other side, you probably should on this side as well. Yeah. Awesome, everyone. Good idea. 3 more. And last one. And then slide the strap up onto that elbow. Bring both hands behind your head. Feel how the strap is pulling you into a side bend. Allow it to side bend you, and then you center yourself back off. You're in a little bit of flexion, like ab prep the whole time. And little side bend. And center up. You might notice one side of this is smoother than the other. Obviously, we're trying to make things as even as possible. So try to smooth it out. Good. Side bend. Imagine if you're laying on a rotational disc with your upper back. That's kind of the feeling here. 2 more. These few exercises, we're kind of starting them today, and we'll keep building on them. And then when you're done with that, let the arms come forward and sit up carefully. Once you sit all the way up, you can swing your legs around so that your forearm can be on the headrest. You're trying to not collapse the ribs into the shoulder rest. You're trying to stay lifted. And then starting with the arm pressing straight down towards the hip and back up towards overhead. As you're doing this, you can look down at the bottom elbow if you need to get your nose out of the way, or bring your arm a little in front of you. Ideally, your palm would either face forward or face towards the foot bar direction. Try to get your shoulder well aligned. And if you, on the other side, took the arm forward, then let's do that here as well. So going into flexion and extension versus adduction and abduction, which is what we were just doing. Then the back of the shoulder staying connected as you press the arm forward. Nice. One more time. 4 circles in each direction. Big range, as big as you can control. Keeping that connection to the back of the shoulder. And then we'll reverse. Circling around 4, 3. Last one here. And then return. Awesome. So then from here, you're going to get to kneeling. I was just thinking about it. If you are on a low reformer, you can take the platform extender and just put it here so that it lifts you up a little higher off the ground. You don't have to. It's just an option if you were struggling on the other side. So put the strap on your foot mindfully. And then press your leg out behind you. By doing it on the box, you have a different line of pull because you're above the pulley height. Here, you're at the same height with your hip approximately at the pulley or in that range. And so it's just a different kind of work. So press, nobody will have the same range of motion because the floor is there. So keep your legs straight, shift your weight back further than you think. So as the leg goes down and touches the floor, you're not shifting your weight onto your arms. My arms feel pretty light. It feels like my shoulders are working a lot, but there's hardly any weight in my wrists, more of the weight in my pelvis. Good. And then hold the leg up behind you in basketball-sized circles. The carriage will move a few inches. You're just trying to make that as smooth as possible. And reverse your circles. Last one. Bend your leg in underneath you, staying neutral, press it back out. Bend in, connect to the back of the hip to press out. Stay neutral for these first few. And extend. Should be feeling some work in that standing hip right now. One more. And then as you bend your knee underneath, you round your back. And as you press out, lengthen. And on your own timing, just try to find how to smooth it out and get as full a range as you can. 3 more. Good. And last one. Set your foot down on the floor so that you don't twist your knee to get the strap off. Take and thread your legs through the shoulder rests, sitting with a little bit of space behind you, holding onto the strap or hand through the strap. Airplane, or if you did plow on the other side, do plow. With the palm is facing forward or down. Yeah, wide across the collarbones. You've got the asymmetry of this long lever pushing against a spring tension, so you have to work through the center to keep everything from twisting. Good, a couple more here. Sitting nice and tall, try not to lean back. That's better, yeah. And one last time. And then putting the strap back on the shoulder rest. Swing your legs off to the side and stand up. So we're gonna back up towards the back of the reformer. I'm gonna switch to a quarter spring. And then if anyone wants it to be heavier, feel free to go back to your half spring. There's one of these few that I think is easier than the others. But grab the strap that's on the same side you're standing on. Yeah, and then take a lunge where your lunge is elongated, your back leg is straight, your back heel is lifted. My back foot is almost touching the foot of the reformer. Yeah, and you can always move forward. So push your arm forward and then bend your elbow back in. I hit the stopper really quick and it feels pretty light, so I'm gonna move a little bit forward. Then I start to find a range where I can get a fuller range of motion as I bend and press. Exactly. So if you're on a lower reformer, just get down a little bit lower. Yeah, if you can. And if it's too heavy and you're on the half spring, obviously go down. Further back, standing back further is a little lighter. Standing further forward is going to make it heavier. So if you're feeling pretty good, step forward. Yeah. Good. Press and add a little rotation, so you're rotating your upper body away from the arm as it pushes forward, squaring off to the foot bar. Rotate and square it off. Definitely there's a balance element here. And hopefully you feel that front hip working to help hold you up. Hunch forward and rotate. And 2 more, rotate. And back. Back up again, just to make sure it's not too hard to start. And bring your elbow up so that you're on a diagonal with your elbow. Yeah. And then try to straighten your elbow, tricep press. Then if that feels pretty good, feel free to step forward. I just didn't want to have it be too hard. Getting in and out of this, you want to be pretty mindful about not having tension on the rope as you bring your arm back down. So finding that tricep press. If you want to help your elbow a little bit, put your fingertips of the free arm underneath the elbow to help monitor that it stays where it should and it's not drifting around. Awesome, Jessica, yes. Good, and last one. Push your arm to straight, keep it straight, and then step back. I think that's just a little nicer on the shoulder. Awesome. Turn to face towards the reformer, probably about in front of the shoulder rest. Come down into a squat and reach your arms out away from you, and then rotate your upper body here. You're rotating towards the foot bar. More or less, you're keeping your pelvis still, but it will respond to the movement of the upper body. You want it to be harder and fuller range, so you're not going from straight in front of you towards the foot bar, and you want to go full range, move towards the foot bar. It just gets a lot heavier. So if it's too heavy, you've got to move back towards the back of the reformer. Hopefully you feel some obliques working. 2 more. And last one. Step and face the back of the reformer. Here's where you might want to have spring. It starts to get lighter here, a little easier range of motion for us. So start with just a low row and a squat, and then stand. Low row and squat, and stand. Yeah, and try to make it, even though it's not the hardest squat in the world, that you're pushing the floor away and you're working through the legs to connect up into the torso. Feel that press of the floor away to grow up out of the floor. Stay down on your next one in your squat and just do the row without standing up. If you need to back up a little, you can to get more range. Try to keep your shoulders from rotating. Yeah, Melanie, see if you can connect your ribs a little bit more so you're less in extension and a little more neutral. Yeah. Maybe it's partly feeling like you're sticking your butt out too, so that you have your lumbar curve versus a thoracic curve. Yeah, there we go. Last one. And then stand all the way back up. You can put that strap back down and walk around to the other side. Switch to your quarter spring if that's what you did. Holding onto that strap. Back up quite a lot. Whichever leg is closer to the reformer, that's the leg that's going to be lunging back. And just try to press your arm forward. That goes well. Step forward a couple inches. Find your lunge. Press through the arm. Connect through the back of the shoulder. If none of this is working for you for whatever reason is too heavy, grab a weight and just do this with me with the weight instead of with the carriage. Because there's no lighter spring than the quarter, we know. Sadly, sometimes I wish there were. 1/15 of a spring or something. Push and hold. Add a little rotation to your upper body. Rotate, square it off. Rotate, square it off. And rotate. Ginge, try to get your elbow down by your side, so your elbow is by your side, it's bent. And then as your arm goes forward, it straightens, so that you're not keeping the arm up high the whole time. I think it'll be easier. And last one. Step back again and find a way to bring your elbow up, and then find that lunge. And here our elbow will be up the whole time. Bend and straighten the elbow. If you need more range, move an inch forward. Figure out that sweet spot for yourself. Yeah, nice. It should feel like leg work as well. We didn't start with footwork, so make sure you're in positions in these lunges and squats where you're working. Four more. When you're done with this last one, push your arms straight, hold tension in the strap, and then just back up to bring the carriage back in. Awesome. Squat, facing a wide leg position, kind of facing the shoulder rest, holding on to the strap with both hands and rotating your upper body. So you're kind of starting with the hands in front of you and trying to rotate towards the foot bar. You can also do this in a turned out squat if that feels better to you, but your choice. Stay lifted and tall through the waist, so you're staying in neutral spine, you're just rotating that neutral around. Reach the arms away from you, that will help give you room to move. A few more here. One more. And then hold on to the strap facing the back of the reformer. You want to switch to your half spring, now would be the time. And you're going to find a squat position, sorry, not a bicycle, a row, low row. And low row and stand. Low row and stand. Feels like you can't stand all the way up, then you're probably standing too far back. Should feel like you can connect your shoulder and get to vertical. It's like you're shifting a really big truck. Shift and stand up. Yeah, have the pull of the arm or that shift or that low row be part of the squat, and the straightening of the arm be part of standing up, so it's not separate movements. Awesome. One more time, you're going to stay down in your squat and hold, and just bend and straighten the elbow. Dana, see if you can bring your chest up a little higher, and then bend your elbow and straighten it. You might need to back up if you don't have room to straighten your arm. There we go. Get your butts down in your squat so your chest isn't dropped and the butt's up. Yeah, awesome. 4, 3, 2, and last one. And come back up to standing. You can put that strap down. Switch back to your 2 red springs. If you need to switch to your footwork settings in order to be able to be in a comfortable elephant, you're welcome to do that. Hands on the bar, stand up in your elephant position like you were towards the beginning. Rounding through your back, push the carriage out so you can increase the range of motion. Still staying in a round position. So nothing fancy again, just an elephant, round back. One more time. And bring the carriage back in. Step one foot a little bit forward of the other. As you push the carriage back, bend the front leg. As you bring the carriage in, bend the back leg and let yourself sit back a little bit. You can move that foot further forward. If it's just too heavy, you're welcome to go to 1 3/4 or 1.5-ish. One leg is straightening as the other is bending. Yeah. If you can, it's the coming in that I think is we're missing. So when the carriage is in, your front leg is straight, your back leg is bent, and you've shifted your butt back. Shift your weight back, 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 back. Well, all of you are doing the pushing out part, so I'll take that and keep it for today, and we'll work on the coming in part next time. Switch which foot is forward, push out, sit back as you come in. Yeah. That's right, Anita. Good, Dana. Last 4. One leg straightening as the other's bending. And last one. And come all the way back in. Set your knees down for knee stretches. So shift your weight back, round through your spine. 2/3 of your weight is back. Bend your elbows so your chest isn't quite so high up. You're a little lower. And then just push the carriage out, pull it in. Push out, pull it in. If you want to come up into the knees hovering position, you're welcome to do that. Your choice today. Pull it in and in. Yeah, nice. And then bring the carriage all the way back in. Either slide off to the side or do your single thigh stretch on the high bar. Push out, take a bow forward, and come back in one more time. Push out, take a bow forward, and come back in. Switch which leg is on the bar or shift over to the other side on the floor. Push out, bowing forward, coming back in. One more time, press out, and come back in. Set your foot back down. One more set of knee stretches, so round your back, bend the elbows a little bit. You're looking at the springs, push, pull. Try to keep that round back position. I think that's the hardest part. Focus on the pulling in. So Melanie, try not to let the carriage go out further than it is right now, and then focus on bringing it back in quickly. Pull it in, and in, and in. Yeah, and you can play around with the exact range of motion, but if you go out too far, then the pelvis won't be in neutral anymore, or in flexion anymore, or posterior tilted. Last 2, and last one, come all the way back in. Switch to 1.5 springs. Stay in that same position. We're gonna work on a little bit of down stretch. We've been kind of working on this gradually. So from tail to head, you're gonna start to articulate towards neutral, and then you're gonna press through the back of the legs to come into that extension like we started with. Then allow the carriage to push you in, and you push with your arms to press that extension or boat-shaped spine out and in 3 times. Yeah. Good. On your last one, press out, round your back, scoop, and pull it back in. And one more time, from tail to head, you start to articulate out, and then you press the carriage out. As you pull the carriage in, lift your sternum up, lift your chest. Push out, pull in, lift the chest. And last one, push out. And on your last push out, stay out there, round from the center of the spine to pull everything back in. Good. And then come off of here. And we're going to, we're going to switch to the half spring again. Come to kneeling against the shoulder rest. And bring both hands out to one side of the rails. As you pull the carriage forward, you're going to try to side bend, so you're bringing your shoulder towards the hip on that side, and then a little bit more to the diagonal. So you're starting out not quite in the center, and you're trying to use your abdominals to create lateral flexion or a side bend. Pull and return and pull and return and pull. Should feel like your abs are working. One more. Take your hands over to the other rail, do the same thing on the other side, and feel like you're pulling from that side bend, lengthening to neutral, side bend, lengthening to the center. Two more. And last one. Come back to the center, put one hand on each rail, shift your weight forward, round your back up towards the ceiling, and as you return the carriage, lengthen back out to one long line. Do that twice more, just centering your spine back off. You feel like your abdominals are working, rounding the lower back up. One more for good measure. And lengthening back out. Sit back, switch to 2 red springs. And grab your strap in your hands. And you're going to come to laying on your back and put the feet in the straps. Once you get your feet in the straps, you're going to press your legs out on the diagonal. Turn your legs out. Make sure your hips are in the middle. And big, luxurious leg circles, big range of motion. Deep crease in the front of the hip, circling around as the legs come up. Try to keep the sacrum, the pelvis down. Inhaling up the midline and around. Stay turned out one more time. Reverse the direction. As the legs go down, stay turned out. Using that lengthening through the back of the pelvis, deep crease in the front of the hip. One more. And then reach the legs out on the diagonal, stay turned out, go into your stag. One leg reaches out towards the check mark, then come back to the center. As you do this a few times, kind of passing the baton, so to speak, from one leg to the other. Push, pull, feeling, just centering everything back off. Trying to keep the ribs from shifting, the pelvis from shifting, and make it kind of a playful timing. One way, center the other. Center, one knee bends, the other leg is straight. The bending knee is coming heel towards the sit bone. Tension in both ropes. One more each side. Last one. Bend your knees like happy baby pose in yoga. Grab a hold of the straps. Let your knees open. Rock that shape a little side to side. Take a couple breaths here. And then come off to the side. Come off of there. And just to finish, we're going to do one moment of plank. So we're going to come headrest up and feet in the headrest. 2 red springs. Hopefully that's what you have already. Find your plank. Stay really connected. You can push the shape out a little and pull it back in, or you can just hold. Yeah. Try to make the pushing happen from the shoulders. So the shoulders are changing at the shoulder joint, but the pelvis isn't changing. That's a good position, Melanie. Put your feet against the headrest. So against the shoulder rest, it's too heavy. I think that's the problem. Yeah, there you go. Last one, everybody. Good. And then you can set your knees down. And you're all done. Amazing work. Good job. Enjoy the rest of your day.